Hello students and welcome to yet another exciting time in computer science class. In the class we'll be talking about file classification and criteria. Criteria has to do with the criteria in which file is being classified. In our previous class we talked about what a file is, talked about what data item is, we talked about file organization, we talked about the types of file organization, where we talked about the serial file, the sequential file, the index file, and the index sequential file, whereby we also made emphasis to the random file organization. We also talked about methods of file processing file. But for this class, we'll base our teaching on three basic things, which are the definition of file classification, what are the classification of this file, and then what are the criteria for classifying this file. Every now and then you see that people tend to classify or save their file, because the reason why a file was being created is so that records can be saved. If you can remember when I said what files are sets of related records. Files are sets of related records. So some persons they don't really know how to save these files. Some files that has to do with staff payroll, they are saving it for everyone to see. Okay, let's talk about the meaning of file classification. Now, file classification is basically the process of organizing documents and records into an organized system so that they can be very easy to find. This is especially beneficial if the organization has multiple departments and staff from one department to another, so that the location of this document is made possible through the various separate departments. Using UPSS as an example, file is classified into three. We have the transaction file, you have the master file, and the reference file. Now, when you talk about file classification entails basically the first two, which is the transaction file and the master file. What then is the meaning of this various file classification? In a little time we will be talking about the transaction file. All right, let's go. What is transaction file? Now, transaction file, it contains the details of all transactions that has occurred in the last period. Now, when they say in the last period, they say a period may be the time that has elapsed since business started that day, or it may be a day, a week, or a month. For example, a sales transaction file may contain details of all sales made that day. When you talk about a transaction file, it is a file that is used to update a master file. It is used to update a master file. Shortly, we will be talking about a master file. Now, what is a master file? A master file is the main that contain relatively permanent records about particular items or entries. For example, a customer file will contain details of a customer, such as a customer ID and the contact address. When you talk about a master file are permanent files that keeps up to date information that is being used during a transaction that may have occurred during the operation of a business. What is a reference file? Now, the reference file is the most commonly used as background information. Generally, a project will have a master site plan depicting the existing site features and topography. The master site plan is used as a reference file whenever existing site information is needed. When you talk about a reference file gives you information of a file that it's needed. Now, the reference fire is not a broad member of the fire gang, but rather it is used to seek address information about the location of a particular file. We'll talk about the criteria for classifying file. When you are classifying file, what are the three basic things that you should look onto in classifying file? The very first criteria is the nature of the content. That is the nature of content in the file. What does the file contain? Does it contain just names? So you have to separate the names. Does it contain boys? You separate them. Does it contain old people or young people? You separate them. Also, we also have file organization method. Now, file organization method in classifying file, where we talk about the sequential file and the likes. Then the storage medium. So for the storage medium has to do when you're classify file based on the way they are being stored. And when they talk about the way they are being stored, they're talking about their size, as per their size. All of this talks about the criteria when you are classifying file. Speaking a little bit about the organization file, we talked about the serial file. And what is a serial file? It is a file in which the information of files stored in it have been added in the order in which they appear. Now, the task is all completed when the various criteria of the files is being met and is being corrected. Also, in a sequential file, it contains records organized by the order in which they enter. The order of the records is fixed. Records in sequential file can be read or written only sequentially. Alright, so thanks for watching and hope to hear from you from the comment section. See you in the next class.